Hello, everyone. So, I want to put myself in a vulnerable spot, and kind of talk about something real, because as the title decides and kind of shows, I'm going to go through and walk through some of the different hurdles or steps or even, tips and tricks of, throughout my experience with diet and exercise. So to just jump right into it, from the jump, I was always loved to eat, and I was fortunate, right? Like my parents pushed always finish the vegetables, but they also would let me try new things like seafood, and it was kind of funny at the time because I would go out to eat with my family at 3, 4, 5 years old. I would get things like frog legs. And that's another thing too, is I have a little bit of an interesting diet. For those who know me, at the cafeteria and wing, shout out Stockton University, I used to, maybe put soup on top of spinach and mix it all around, and it was very good, but I would get a couple looks here and there. Anyway, back to the story. So pretty much until there was actually kind of a core memory, distinct memory I had of when I was 8 years old, so second grade, they weighed everybody in the class, I guess, to go over like converting like pounds to kilograms and whatnot. So I was actually the second heaviest in the class. And it was like an exciting thing because, people would be like, oh, that's awesome. So then I kind of had this relationship with food, and that I was one of the bigger kids, right? Like I knew, okay, I wanted to be, it would kind of push me to be like, okay, I'm just going to eat whatever, whenever, and at that point, maybe I would have more McDonald's or Burger King than what is probably most healthy. But again, I had everything in variety, but I did kind of get a little heavier set than the typical average, but not morbidly obese, but definitely I was obese at one point according to BMI. And all of you probably know BMI isn't always the great characteristic provider to really decide whether or not someone's healthy or not. It's just an objective way to kind of lay it out. So moving forward, nothing really was significantly distressing. And I'm going to go over some of the different narratives, but if you want to check out my videos about mental health, as I am a therapist, check out Superhero Lessons as well. Check that out. But back to the story of my relationship with food. Yeah, food really was something I enjoyed, something I loved ice cream, I loved seafood, I loved all of it. Really until when I was 9 years old, right? Because I would have had to play with the two up, right? Two grades up. I would have been playing with the 120s when I was the 85. So I was 9. So I would have been playing with 7th and 8th graders, and I was not very good at that age. I was okay, and I had a nickname at one point, the Fridge. That was because of the fridge, for the Bears. He was a lineman who was this big guy, and that was one of the coaches. I think Coach Riley actually called me the Fridge, and it was kind of fun. It was still nothing, that was really of note until really, this time where it was either I play with the older kids who were really going to push me around, and I had one practice, and that's when I was like, okay, I need to lose this weight or it ain't going to be good. I was probably going to stop playing at that point. And that was probably my first year. I actually cried for football practice, first day of practice. That's another story for another day. But, I'm going through and I have this practice, and it started when I actually wanted to continue to play. You always hit that age of, just like anything. Most of the time, you start off and you're not good at something. That's all good though. That's a part of the process. If you're good at it, great. If you're good at it, great. But we all start off at different things. But if you start to, it's amazing how sometimes we start off, we hate something, and then the more we work with it, just like, with working out or different forms of exercises, the more you'll see that you start to enjoy it. So back to the story. I'm trying to lose this weight. And I cut back, and I still get to eat the things I like to eat: seafood, shrimp, salad. And it did change the diet for my family too. And so then having that change, I lost the weight, and really nothing with the relationship with food was still pretty decent, right? Because I was still eating what I like to eat. It was that way until high school. That's when it really started to become, honestly, not effective for myself, right? And it was really correlated with, because and I discussed it in my conditions of worth video, but correlated with my relationship with sports and my own worth. So because worth and sports were the two things that I got my worth from, that's when I started to really, view food. And it's not like I set up a game plan really to lose weight, but that's when I wasn't, competing well, or I wasn't doing things the best. And it was really honestly after football, basketball, when I started doing track. Because I was a bigger build for a distance runner, even as a freshman, I was about 150, 5'9" as a freshman. So I wasn't heavy, but for a distance runner, that's pretty much what you weigh. 5'9", 150 is typical for, your end result, let alone if you're already kind of, bigger structurally. And so, that didn't really kick in until junior, senior year when I, got back into running. I kind of switched over to jumping. Shout out Jason Kramer. We were high jumping. But that's when it really got ineffective, right? So I would look at myself and not really enjoy what I saw. And it was something that I continually worked through, but at that time, thinking back to it, it really was an unhealthy way to view it, and it got tied in with if I was getting girls' attention and whatnot, so that also had to play in the factors as well. But at that time, right, so I will always have 3 PB&Js and for lunch, and then whatever was for dinner, and then it was kind of like, what am I doing wrong, right? What am I doing wrong? So then, I would kind of, but there was no plan, right? It was always, what am I doing? And then there was no plan with my diet in how to kind of like back and having help from my parents and my family members back when I lost the weight when I was 9. There was a game plan. I still ate what I like to eat, but it was just different ways to skin the cat, different ways to get calories in, calories out. And also different, maybe a little more running and a little more this, a little more that. But then it really didn't get to a real, I feel like ineffective was when I was in college, when it even got to a greater level, because my relationship was so wonky at that point. And my sophomore year of college is when I went on fasting, that whole craze. And it wasn't, I wouldn't put it as distressing as some other, like I was able to still function, I still, was able to speak in social situations, but there was this inner reflection, and there was times where if I wasn't having a pump, if I wasn't lean as anything, I didn't love it. So, that was the reflection, and it really didn't get wrapped around until, this point where I decided, sports, and it's very, it's all great, and it actually happened when I injured my back really badly, and I had a disc bulge that you could ask, anyone, I mean, you're probably not going to ask them, but people who are aware of, when you have a serious back injury, you'll be done from doing things. But so I was basically out for a while, and it really made me reflect on where I was at and what my goals were, and really how I felt, because it was just, sometimes you're just, in the midst of it, and then getting this break and really reflecting and be able to, this happened one other time when I got mono, actually, my freshman year of college, gave me time to really put emphasis into basically transferring schools. But this time was really helped in, I wasn't doing track, and that was something that was a part of my identity, and this actually helped when I graduated, because I already went through what it was like to not be an athlete, and it became not fun all the time, but it became okay, and I actually put myself, and I started to find interest in other things. But my diet, I was still restricting, still doing that. But then the next year is when, all right, I started seeing, okay, I don't have to restrict. I can, eat different things. I still, people still bust on me. I'm not going to go out. I would eat McDonald's, but me personally, I would rather have my sacrifices be with gummy bears, be with ice cream, stuff I enjoy. I don't enjoy McDonald's. If somebody wants to put that, but it's all that balance. It's all about, it's corny, but it's true, and sometimes those corny things are true. And now, you as you see in the picture, it's at a place where I feel good, and I've had injuries, and I've been okay through them, because I haven't put my whole being into how I look, into how I perform. And that's the biggest thing, is because that's not effective. If your overall goal is to get to this, top level, it is not effective to put your whole being into something, regardless of what those, different fitness influencers, whoever say. It is not as effective for your health as a person to put your whole identity into one thing. But thank you so much for listening to me jibber jabber. I will see you in the next one.